Hello, ActoSage here on the Sage channel. That is Sleep, Art, Game, and Eat. And today an update came out that added a fair few interesting things. And when I say interesting, I mean truly interesting things. No weapons for big ships or anything like that, but stuff I've really wanted. At least one thing. Working doors. And you see here we have this huge array of working doors. I'll hide this thing that I'm about to place in a minute. And if I was to go up to one and press K on this, you'll see that I have the controls for this door, whichever one it is. Oh, there it was. It was highlighted. Door 59, I can tell that because of the highlighting, and it's the whichever one you clicked on shows up here in the list, even though it doesn't auto-line to it. Anyway, you can see here the open and close function is the door's turned on. If I tell it to close, it's currently closed. If I tell it to open, it would open, right? Wrong, because currently it is unpowered. All these doors are actually currently set to be open, but of course since they don't have any power they won't do so. So really quickly, if I was to place this, that awesome thing happens and all these doors open at once. So pretty cool. Unfortunately at the moment there are no easy grouping things. Something I'd really like to see for pretty much everything they added in this is to be able to maybe do select that and then shift and select all these, be able to turn them all on and off at once, or even select them and then right click and be able to set them up as a group and be able to control them all at once. But of course if I was to say turn this door off, door 5, and now if I try to tell it to close, oh wait, I didn't turn it off. There we go. If I turn it off and then tell it to open, it's not going to open because it is off. And placing the power core wouldn't, of course, instantly reopen it or anything silly like that because it's still set to be off. Now, something strange, I did copy this building before I opened all those doors, so I can try to show you that all those doors opening again at the same time. That isn't actually going to happen unless they've, whoa, sent out a tiny little update that I missed. Now, you see, I've just pasted this thing, stupidly fallen, but if I fly up to it and we look inside, all the doors are still closed, right? So you'd think, okay, I can put the power supply down, we'll see those windows open, the shadows slightly oh, no. I didn't cut there. The second you put down a power supply, it instantly refreshes and say, oh wait, no, those are all set to open. Oh, they didn't have power before, but whatever, they should probably be open, right? So it instantly sets them back to that. I've also noticed the same thing would happen. So if I had those doors closed, if I saved and reloaded this, went in there, they'd still look like they were closed, but the second I added the power supply again and repowered them and they were set to open, they would instantly be open. So if you have little things you're trying to set up like that to be a really cool showpiece, watch out for that. Anyway, I can fly up here. These are basically experimentation modules that I built for this, and the interiors of them are all the same, but they got different stuff inside them. So I'm going to fly into this one first and start going off some of the stuff I was testing out with this. And because now that we have doors, some of the really cool stuff I wanted to see for a long time is in here. And something else we also have, I probably should say, is we have lighting working, but I'm going to get to that in a bit. So here we go, and when I say lighting working, I mean colored lights and a lot of options. But for now, here we go, some more doors, and basically what I have here are two lights, left or right, behind this little sealed thing. So basically it's another way of controlling your lights, and actually this way, because doors, even though they look like they're pretty much sealed tight there, you can see every now and again you see a little seam there, and they have a huge seam on the bottom. We know, or at least I'm pretty sure they're going to fix that, because if you actually look at the door model there, in the selection, you can see they got a little platform on the bottom, so you can expect in the near future there's actually going to be a platform on the bottom, so you can't have a big open space like that. Or maybe if there's no floor there, if it's detecting that there's no proper floor there, they'll keep it open so we can keep doing stuff like this, because I really like the idea of being able to set up big doors like this for shooting through. Anyway, let me open these doors, and you can actually see how the light updates there, and you can see our sort of target reticle setup there disappear. As we go in here, we can select this. We can tell both these doors to open, and of course they're not going to open while we're in this because the game's paused whenever you're in this. We get out of that and instantly those doors open. I'm hoping also in the future we'll be able to sort of go in here and same way I was talking about with the lights, select these two, right click, group them, and then say maybe receive signal and maybe type in a number to set up, hey, whatever signal it is, put in a control panel and be able to type that number in so it'll be a wireless transmission to it. Or maybe even have to set up little specific wires directly linking stuff, but I think the number linking would probably be the best thing as long as the control panel is on the same ship. And these are all stations, that's why they're floating around. And they're separate from the main structure, that is why I'm not able to access those lights and stuff with this control down here, which is a reactor. And now I'm going to open this one here too. Actually, I'll close this one first, that way you can see the lighting from just the single door. If we go into here, we'll actually close these two doors, And actually, no, we can leave them open. We can leave them open. What we'll do is turn off the lights. You can see here all the new controls for the lights. I'll show you those in a minute. So there we go. We've turned off the lights there. And now you can just see the seam from the single door down here really quickly. We'll open this up. Door, kindly open. And there you go. You can go. Yeah, there you go. You can see the door open. I love the dynamic shadows from these. And you can see the big light in there. It'd be pretty strange if you're floating out in space and you found a door. Hey, maybe there's a button next to it. You open it up and... oh, right, it's just a big light shining at me for some reason. Something nice that I wish did work with the doors, which I have a feeling they'll probably do soon, is currently with the doors, if this door is open, it's set to on, I'd like an automatic button or something, so I could just point at this and press T and toggle it. But currently, I can't do anything with it, so I'm pressing T, nothing. I press K, and it just comes to this where I can open and close it. Nothing special. Another thing with the doors, because I'm going to be moving on pretty soon, is that... let's see here, I tell it to close, it gets to there, right there. You can see there's a bit of a gap there if you look at the top left, and I tell it to open, it goes from that point. It's not just playing an animation, it's actually able to change the doors mid-animation, which is pretty cool and very nice. Okay, so we're moving on to the next research lab thing here. In this one, I got more lighting setups. I believe in this one, though, is where I was working with putting the lights farther back. Yes, indeed, it is. And you can see here, we got basically the same thing as last time. There's the lights stuck all the way up against the door, like we just showed. So if I was to go into here, click on you, decide, hey, doors, would you kindly open for me? And sure enough, you can see it opens up. We got two of them next to each other, up and down this time. Looks pretty awesome. Looks pretty nice. Now, I'm just really quickly going to once again go in here and disable these lights. Actually, no, I'll close the door. It's kind of nicer just to close the doors. So there you go. You can see those doors closing, slowly blocking out the lights. Very cool. I'm more excited about just this, the doors, than actually the lighting configuration stuff, shockingly. Anyway, for this one, we should probably position so we can actually see it open. This one, the lights are farther back set. So when we tell these doors to open, you'll notice a big difference right away. It's a much thinner beam of light because, of course, the lights aren't closer up, so they can't shine out at an angle like that. They're forced to shine at a much thinner angle, much acuter angle. So there you go. Very interesting, the stuff you could do with lights. Again, having those doors also, you can sort of sometimes be able to get a target reticle to show up. Clearly not always, because these doors are basically set up like the ones we were just seeing in the other building, but no target reticle, just a seam. So, a bit interesting, but you could fiddle with those and end up with a lot of different stuff. So let's get out of this research area. We've gotten lucky so far. I've had issues with those doors before where they are closed even though they appear to be open. And we come into here now, and this is where I started messing with basically the different settings on these lights. And I found that, if I go into here, we got all this stuff. Basically, I didn't mess with the colors yet, but I was working with the radius. So this is radius all the way up. You can see very blurred. This is with, I believe, not radius, but I did a few things on this one. If we come in here, we go to the light, you can see I got radius all the way up, and I got intensity all the way up. So we got our intensity, which is one of the reasons it's so bright, it's showing up very well. If we were to go over this one, the easiest way probably to do this is just to show the changes. I go into the reflector light, and I'm going to up the intensity. You can actually see it at the top of the screen there changing. It would be a bit nice if we could have just this pop up maybe on the right side. That way we could tweak stuff, but that's really nitpicky. I'm not sure if they'll ever do something like that. But anyway, if we up our intensity there, you can see it shining pretty brightly, and you see it's a bit less... this one's sort of, the whole thing looks pretty bright and white, whereas this, it's sort of the center and then it fades out. And actually that has to do with the fact that we have, actually, these should be about the same. There we go. I think I was getting confused a little bit. But anyway, we can go into here, we can grab you, and we can actually turn up the fall off. And the fall off actually very quickly makes it so that the bright point in the middle falls off to the outer edge right there, which is basically that. It seems like there's always going to be a glow sort of out to that edge. I think also the reason this might look a bit different is because it's not pure white. Yeah, that was probably it. It just wasn't pure white, so it was throwing me off a bit. Anyway, we can also go in here. We can turn the fall off back down to about there, and now you sort of see that brighter point in the middle, and then it falls off a little bit more gently. Now, of course, we can tweak a lot of these settings to get a few different things to happen, but I wasn't getting that many great results. If we were to drop the radius, it drops, I believe, the whole radius of the sort of point where it's going to fall off to. So if really we get it to like 8, that's still not, you can't really see it. It ends up being very finicky, I found, and hard to tell. But yeah, there we go. Instead of this big circle being that big, it's much thinner and smaller now. But for some reason, the intensity seems to drop, not be as noticeable. You'd expect if you made the radius smaller, that all that light that was shining there would all now be shining at the tiny spot, but it doesn't seem to be so. It's a bit strange. I've been having a lot of trouble getting it to do what I like. But anyway, that's the basics of this. And then you see here, I was fiddling with it, and a lot of these just weren't showing up at all, even though they had different settings, because of course the intensity wasn't as high, but also because that fall off was more notable. If I reduce the fall off, you can see it a lot better, because the fall off is making it fall off quite quickly from the middle point. So if we come over this, same thing I believe is where we just were. Actually, I'm going to up this to white as well. And then this one was small radius, but if we were to do that, again, nothing. But the best way I've liked using them is basically like that, where I can up the radius, then we get that really sharp point, and then of course we can tweak that with a bit of fall off, just a tiny bit, and it'll should start to blur the edges there. Yeah, there you go. So now you got the edges blurred, but we still got a pretty white, bright point, but it's blurred out. Anyway, now let me fly over to the next research area. Drop down here, go through our doors. Still lucky on that. Oh, I've actually turned on my lights. Turn those off. And we can fly up here now. And in here, this is basically was intending to test how those, because you can see down there, those lights were pretty close to the wall. I found that if they get any more than 5 blocks away from a wall, you can't really see much of a damn difference. You can see here, this was basically where I was going to test a bunch of them, but as you can see, it's pretty damn vague. There's not really anything on the wall. Let's go into here. Let's look at its settings. And you can see it's basically set up so we should have that bright white circle right in the middle. Nothing. Nada. Let's make sure it's super set to white. That way we're not getting confused by anything else. Still nothing. So let's remove this. Let's post it, move it closer. And you see it sort of flashing there. That's as it's updating. It sort of does a little thing. It's brighter against the wall, but still not as precise as you would expect, considering the circle was sort of that size when the wall was right around here-ish. You would expect that that same bright spot would be projected basically over this whole area right here, but no such luck with that. So let's keep moving it forward. You can see, you get the drift here. It carries on doing the same thing. Nothing. If I was to put it against the wall, you can see the sort of a bright point. Somehow, it's as if basically the light is making a point light at whatever distance that is from the actual light, and then having it show up there. But of course we know that's not exactly true, because if we were to put something... that's a bit strange. Okay, well that should have... Okay, I'm not exactly sure how these are working. I'm very confused on that, but I think the reason that's being extra funky there is because it is part of the same wall, whereas if we were to put it, let's say, here, so it's not part of the same wall, and then we put that there. Nope. Okay, lights are funky. It is like it's making a point light, like basically one block away, or 2 blocks away from the actual thing, and lighting everything up from that. It's a bit strange. I don't fully understand it. I suspect we'll see a lot of stuff change in the future as there's tweaks, optimization. And anyway, lighting isn't the most important thing in the whole world for this game. Now this building here, let's see, I think this was another test bed for different lights. Yep, this was just another test bed where I was doing some more light testing and try to get it all figured out. You can see there's a tiny little circle in the middle. Anyway, let's get out of there. Let's start heading up to, not this one yet, but this one here. Because as you can see, this is a slightly different module. And these ones over here, we'll start with the one on the left. This one here, probably you can see through the windows there, so I'm floating around slightly losing control. They still haven't changed it, because basically if you see, it's the movement they haven't changed. You can see I'm up to like 20 or whatever I let go. I stop pretty damn quick. If I get up to 20 again, and I press reverse, you can see I don't stop nearly as quick. So up to 20, let go 1, 2, it's pretty much out. Go up to 20 again, hold reverse 1, 2. It's close, but I still think it's a bit faster with the automated system. Maybe it's just in my head, but it just seems like the automated system slows you up faster than you can yourself. Anyway, lit up lights, that's just a nitpick, I'm sorry. But anyway, lit up lights here, you can see the colors, they blend a bit. You sort of end up getting these sort of lines going up and down that I'm noticing here, but I have a feeling that, oh, that's very cool, seeing my shadow, which seems to disappear, which also makes me think of that point light issue. Maybe we're inside the point light, but anyway, or maybe it's just that you don't get a shadow cast on you after a certain distance. Anyway, you get these little lines here, and I think that's sort of its part of its way of blending the lights, is sort of have that. It's either that, or I think it might actually be something in the specular map of the wall texture, where it's sort of brighter there, darker there, just to break it up a bit. Something like that. I don't fully comprehend it right now. So this is basically just default lights, but with their colors changed to a nice little sort of greenish blue and red. sort of Christmassy. I really wish I had these lights during Christmas. And then we have this one here. I think I've tweaked just one light. I think the intensity of one and tried to make it a bit higher. Let's see. Yeah, you can see I've got the intensity on the orange much higher. And you don't actually see much difference here. It's a bit strange. I would expect the orange to be much more notable. And it's a little tiny bit noticeable, I think. Nah, really, I don't. It seems the same. But then I came over here. And on this one, I really tweaked the orange. You can see here, I've basically gone and did what I did before with the lights, is I've set the fall off to naught, the radius to full, and the intensity to full, and the other one's still default, and you can see it really shows up now and starts to overpower the other ones. Very interesting. If I was to really quickly copy this, I can do another test, where I can put it here, and I'll get rid of the screen, and you can see now we're really starting to overpower the other one. And we can keep doing this, actually. Oh, nope. I've actually put that one too far away. It's not gonna... It makes an awesome glow. Oh, God. It makes an awesome glow on this. It looks like something out of a Doctor Who episode where he was trying to save that one ship from falling into the sun or something. I love it. But anyway, that's not what I was shooting for. I was trying to completely overwrite all of that other color. And now you can see we're getting something really weird. You'd expect this to be showing up more, but I guess maybe all these were too far back. That was a screw up on my part there. There we go. We put it forward. Again, you have to be within 5 blocks to actually be able to see sort of the lighting showing up as specifically as you like otherwise. But there you go. You can see with 2 orange lights, one there and one there, they have now basically completely overridden that one blue light. And if I was to up that one back up now, you'd expect it to be sort of like painting, but I saw some glitches earlier where the shadows were over clipping each other and causing some trouble. But here we go. Let's up your intensity. Let's basically make you the same thing as them. And there you go. Luckily, this is working pretty much like I'd expect. I'd expect a bit more blending here, but really they are blending pretty well and starting to just make a funky color. And you see the orange in the middle. It's pretty awesome. Another complaint, though, I do have is, and this is something I'm sure they'll change or alter in the future, is that that's not white light. It's a bit white there, but I think that has something more to do with the specular. But these are completely white. You get the bit of glow around the edges, which is very, very cool. And you're getting a lot of this because this one's, casting its magical point light effect apparently right here and causing blowback onto this. But these are, of course, appearing to be perfectly white. Bit annoying. I'm sure they'll fix it or tweak it in the future. Even if they don't, though, it's still damn awesome. I'd also like to be able to change the amount of bloom on those, but beggars can't be choosers, right? And I'm loving this content. Okay, here we go. See what I was talking about with Christmas? Really wish I had these damn things. I mean, look at them. They're amazing. They're super colorful. And apparently I removed my control panel, quote unquote, in their preview video that they put out for this patch. They had one of these, an interior turret. Now, at first I thought, oh my god, are the turrets working? Then I thought, probably not. Of course not. Oh my god, can you mount lights on them? No, that would have been awesome if you could mount a light on a turret and then automatically tell the turret to track enemies. We might see that in the future, so fingers crossed for that. But anyway, no, they were doing this clever thing with a turret, basically using it as a control panel. I also hope they just add control panels in the future, but we'll see. Look at that, though. It's a useful way to get to it. That was very clever of them, and I'm damn glad they shared that with us, too. Because before I was doing it, I was putting doors in and using those as controls. But anyway, that's how I set these lights up. I put them all there, and then I fiddle with their colors. These were separate objects, and then I just can merge them with the ceiling. And you basically see here, you can get all sorts of different colors, and that is basically by using these RGB sliders here with any of these lights. Let's grab this one, and you basically see I can tweak these to whatever color I very well please. Let's see, what do we want? I like green. Green, it's an alright color. It's not the best in the world. I like blues even more. And that was that one there. I think I've just turned it from a blue back to a blue. So let's do that again and actually turn it to, let's say, a red. Reddish orange. Reddish orange is alright. Yeah, there we go. And see, now it's a reddish orange. And that's very cool. And again, they won't update until you get out of there. In the multiplayer, I'm pretty sure they will update as you do it. But currently, of course, the game's single player. Everything pauses when you're in a menu. Actually, no, I think the lights do update, don't they, while you're in there? Let's check that again. You can see at the top of the screen. You see the light there, and oh yeah, lights do update while you're in there, so I was wrong there, but that's very cool. A little hard to see it again because, of course, this all gets grayed out and around the edges, but at the very top, you can see that light changing. Very cool. Also, we have these lights here. I just, again, like I said, I made one, copied it, and moved it about, and I like the idea of having just different lighting for different areas and ships. This light right here I've actually taken all of its lighting settings. Actually, let's see if I can find it really quickly. There we go, here it is. And I've basically set everything absolutely 0, so it should be casting a black light if it was to cast anything, and then its intensity and everything down to naught, to try to see if it would decrease the bloom and glow, or whatever you want to call that. And indeed, no, it doesn't. The light, again, itself just remains pure white, and I'm sure that's something they will change in the future, or at least alter. What else do we have? There should be another one up and around here that has a similar settings to that. I think it's that one there, where its intensity is still pretty high, but if we were to, it should be light 4. Its intensity is still pretty high, but because it doesn't have really any light to project, all you get is sort of this like specular glow, where you can, I think it's only the specular showing up, and that's about it. And the actual light isn't sort of making things light up. So if we were to go over here, you can see the specular, of course, is lining up between us and the light somewhere on the metal, where you'd sort of see the shine of the light. And of course, these also appear to all cast their, point light a little bit in front of them. Of course, these aren't dynamic lights like the other ones. They do not cast shadows. So you're not going to have any of that funkiness, which also means these are much more friendly on your system, not going to cause lag. These are all a bunch of lighting platforms where I was basically doing the same thing I did with all those other lights, tweaking their settings. This one here, which sort of makes the whole area into almost like a hyper clean sci-fi area. The ground looks sort of weird. You almost see a reflection map now in the metal that I don't actually remember seeing before. So that's where if you look out there, you can sort of see these little dots. It's sort of, you're seeing outer space. The reflection map is the same as a sky map, and it's to give the metal actually a sheen. It's very cool. Even if we're seeing outer space from the inside, it's better to have this than not, because usually you won't even notice it on a direct level. You just notice, oh, everything's shiny. It's like it's metal. Whereas over here in the dark, I didn't notice as much. You do notice it more here, though, is what I was originally getting at with this light, which is, if I use this as a control panel, you see I got its own power there, and this whole thing isn't connected to the rest of the structure. I go in here, the light. This one's just sort of super maxed like the previous ones. Except for with this one, I have the fallout actually. Oop, that was the wrong button. We have the fallout actually raised up a bit, so it's not making a hard point. If I drop that down, I expected a hard point, but apparently not. That one's a bit different. So these are a bit different than the other ones. You can see, though, I was managing to get basically the same sort of stuff showing up as I did with the spotlights. The same sort of... Oh, dang nabbit, come on. There we go. Decent lighting effects here. And then, again, it was some tweaking. The radius. With this one, the reason the radius is very different. I can make it quite small, but as the big ones, you needed the radius pretty much, they're very finicky and different. They're very different. Let's turn this down, and now we get this tiny radius, and it isn't even reaching the ground somehow, where you'd expect it to actually reach the ground, but very, very strange. A lot of finickiness, but well worth checking out, well worth playing with and seeing a lot. And this one's radius is all the way out to there, which is why it's so funky. Yeah, you can see it's huge radius, and that somehow it's not even lighting this up. And I suspect that might be because the point light's actually been pushed into the ground itself. Aha, yep, that is it. The point light has been pushed down to about here. So that's a very, very strange. And when I say point light, I mean that is a small, basically like a single point in space that is just giving off this light. And that's how apparently all of their lights are currently working, except for the other ones have a dynamic shadow and for some reason they sort of have a point light, and then it also shoots a beam of light forward, but the beam of light itself is much less advanced, it would appear. Anyway, here we go. Let me see here. I'm not able to get out of these doors. This is that glitch I was talking about before. And I notice this usually happens when I like edit blocks in a ship. So the only way to fix this is to tell a door to close and then open again. And you don't even have to exit this. And now I can walk through it again. I believe the other one will still be glitched. Yep. And let's see if my hypothesis was correct, that if I edit the ground or something, it resets these doors. It does. So that's a glitch. Apparently, the system thinks that all doors are supposed to be closed whenever the ship's been edited, even though they still, on all their options, say they're open. Anyway, over here, one last thing that I thought I'd show off, which ties into a lot of ideas I've had for weaponry in the past, which I probably should be able to get into these doors yet, because I haven't edited this building, are weapons things. This is a super simple turret, basically. It can only aim left and right. And what I have here is its firing range. It's the door. And the idea behind this is, of course, on a big ship that's going to be shooting at other large ships, doesn't need to aim that much maybe, you would basically have doors like this, where you're just going to, oh no, My doors have been scrambled somehow. Let's see. There we go. On a big ship like this, basically, you're probably not going to be aiming that much. Your main purpose in here is just to fire the missiles, and we don't have automated turrets yet, and maybe you'd like to be able to have special setups. So here you go. Now you got a little bit of aim to the left and right until you make a bad shot like that, and then start hitting invisible things that are somehow still there. Even though if I was to hop out and fly over here, nothing's there. Bit strange. Missiles somehow different and not updating to the fact that there's nothing there anymore. Oh, actually, no, I'm still able to hit it too. I wonder if I'm able to try to place a block. Nope, nothing's showing up. Able to build through it like that. What if I remove these now? Able to pass through it now. So a bit strange. It's like as if you blow up a door block. It's basically like that door block will still be there. And when I say door block, it's not really a door block, but the door will still be there, even though it is clearly not. So a bit of strangeness going on with doors. Before this update, you actually weren't even able to destroy doors or windows. So that was even worse, I would say. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to fly through these because I just destroyed and placed some blocks. But let's see, can our missiles still go through there? No, so we've blown up the front of our big old nice turret. But this is sort of what I was talking about. A big turret here with a bunch of ammo deeper inside a ship that maybe would just fire at big old ships directly to the sides of a large fighter. Anyway, that was that test. There's still issues here, clearly. It thought those doors were closed, even though they weren't. I fired that before successfully. I'll actually reload this and show you. Alright, so here we go. Reloaded it. And came back in here. We can open these doors up now. Oh, so door 1 and 2 should have been those other ones, but apparently they weren't for some reason. Bit strange. Yeah, apparently door 2 and 6 got switched around somehow. Don't fully understand that. Anyway, there we go. We got those doors open. And now if I just fire this, you can see we can fire straight through those doors. A very cool setup. Very cool idea, I believe. And again, it would mainly just be for shooting at static targets, but you could probably set up a turret pretty well to be able to fire through basically the left or right slit like I had before and hit whatever it needs to. Anyway, I like the idea of this. I believe it's a great way to hide, turrets in a safe area. But of course, you got to be careful not to shoot the door and the invisible door that remains afterwards. And I've actually just broken myself free from the pad. So anyway, thanks a bunch for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, 2 more things really quickly before I go. Basically, okay, 1 more thing before I go. It would be hella nice if in the future we also see a setup for those lights to maybe be able to link with the ship to detect how fast the ship is going. Let's say if the ship gets over a certain speed, maybe change the lights. Let's say maybe they can detect if the ship's large cannons are firing and change the lights, or maybe even it can detect if this ship's speed suddenly drops, let's say extra quick. Let's say like you probably just crashed and then switch the lights to a different profile, let's say from the normal colors that they have to a special profile you might be able to name and link called, I don't know, alert, yellow alert, or red alert. Anyway, there was one other thing I do need to mention though, and that would be update also came with basically the ability to now import, export, or let's say export and then import your own collision maps for custom models. So look to see some of that in the future. I have a feeling they're starting to think, hey, people are asking for a lot of crazy stuff. Let's let them make it. And that's probably a good choice. Because if they don't make something, people are always willing to make it. And my God, if you embrace modders, you are going to embrace a bright, bright future as they embrace your pocketbook. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys next time.